We are 100% live back at the table off our vacations. And the hot topics piled up while we were gone. To name a few, Sean Spicer desperately needs some history lessons about the Holocaust. April the giraffe finally became a mom. Kushner and Bannon are reportedly at war, and the U.S. has been playing a lot of war games as well, dropping the mama of all bombs. So we're going to see what we can do not to bomb today.
God.
VP Mike Pence is in South Korea right now with some tough words for North Korea after their failed nuclear missile test. Take a look.
Just in the past 2 weeks, the world witnessed the strength and resolve of our new president. We will defeat any attack, and we will meet any use of conventional or nuclear weapons with an overwhelming and effective response. The era of strategic patience is over.
God.
We can hear you, Joy.
Sorry.
Good, I'm glad.
Scary
Yeah,
stuff.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
You know,
I'm glad.
Because it's strategic, but what happened to diplomacy? I mean,
Well,
you know,
Well, there
what
are no
happened to
diplomats.
that?
There
We
are no
tried that,
diplomats
yeah.
about. No, we have always used it, and we haven't had any issues.
Well, we haven't had any issues, but
Yeah.
we've also had North Korea building up missiles, long-range missiles that could potentially, soon they're going to be able to attach a nuclear warhead to that. We've tried diplomacy with numerous countries. We've tried it with Iran. We've tried it, we wind up telling them you can't have weapons, and we go in
We
and
have
we
a deal with
explore.
Iran.
Right, and guess
Exactly.
what? They hide their weapons from us all the time. Diplomacy is great. It's fantastic when you're not dealing with tyrants and when you're not dealing with people who seek to undermine
So
us
what's the
and our
alternative?
allies.
A nuclear holocaust?
No, I think the alternative is to be tough, is to say, look, if you're going to showcase a parade the day before Mike Pence goes to South Korea, our ally, and you're going to showcase massive weapons that you hope and intend
You do know
to
that,
aim at
you
us,
do know that
there will
that's
be
a week that
consequences.
happens every week.
Yeah, it
there.
happens
You know,
every
it's
time.
listen.
That's
The
what they
idea,
do.
the
They've got a
idea
strange
that
idea
we're
of a
going to
fun
go.
parade.
Yeah, exactly.
The idea that we go and tweak your nose when we're in the middle of two wars, we're trying to figure out what to do with Assad, because quite frankly, you know, everybody's all happy about the fact that we bombed over there. So, and this new guy says, oh yeah, I've changed my mind on this. Well,
Trump.
the new, you say his name, I'm not saying
I
it.
know.
And the new guy says, you know, I've changed my mind on how I feel about this. Really, what does that do for all the people who've been trying to tell you why they were leaving their country? Have you changed your mind on that? That's the stuff I want to know.
You know what's
Because
Do you
scary?
mean in regard to refugees?
in refugees and just what the real world offers, because tweaking people's nose, your kids aren't going over there.
Well, he's not sending, to be fair, he's
Not
not.
yet.
I don't support boots on the ground. I don't support democracy building or nation building in these countries. But I think when you talk about, I think you're talking about Afghanistan and this bomb. Look, there are ISIS terrorist havens. If you have our president taking out underground tunnels where ISIS is, where you have American and Afghani forces coming together and saying, we can't break through this area to work together because of ISIS, and you have him taking that out, I
You know, that's
salute
fine,
that.
but what's the
I salute
long-term
that.
plan? What is the strategy? You can't just drop bombs and have no real plan. That is not how the world is run, and that is not how our country should be run.
I don't know what the long-term plan is.
That's
I
not
don't know.
how you do it. You don't know what the long-term is, and he doesn't know what the long-term plan is either.
We don't
That
know.
scares the
What?
heck
So
out of
we
me.
don't-
You know what scares me?
What scares
During the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I was alive and
You weren't part of,
I was
but
an
you were
adult.
there for.
I was an adult, and I was petrified that we were going to all be blown up in a nuclear holocaust. Kennedy was president, and he did not agree with the generals, and so he interfered between Russia and the generals, and he made a deal with Khrushchev. Now, what we have now is Donald Trump, who doesn't know. I know as much about Korea as he does. That's really scary. And I think that he is leaving it all up to the military. He doesn't have any civilians involved in the negotiations.
But Joy,
Or
in this,
diplomats. I mean, he's going to send Jared Kushner deal with Yum Yum too. I mean, you know.
in this instance, I actually find a little comfort in the fact
Why?
he's not making those decisions because he's already in
agree
office.
with that.
We can't change it. The fact that McMaster and Mattis are leading this charge, I do trust their experience
But
a little
Sarah,
more.
do you know what the job is of the military? To go into wars. That's their
well, to
job.
protect
you
us
need,
primarily.
okay, whatever it is, that's their focus. That's their
But if I
mindset.
have to pick
You
between
need
the generals
civilians
right now and the
them-
president sitting there,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do prefer the people with the experience.
So here's the question.
But you want you want a civilian.
I would
in
love-
there.
When we do these things and we build this up. Now, how many tours of duty have our active military had?
A lot.
Okay?
Yeah.
So now, how do we even think about getting involved in yet another thing? At some point, they're going to have to get some new folks to go fight these new things. Where do you think they're going to come from?
The scary part now is they don't even need people there.
For
They
me,
just
from our
bomb everyone. Everyone's
Well,
sending
you know,
But
missiles.
the issue is, for me, what else do you do? Because if diplomacy on paper, which they've tried sanctions, they've tried everything with these countries. I support trying that, but it's failed with a lot of these
but my
countries.
money is-
What do you do? Do you
Korea-
wait?
My
But wait a
money,
minute, Korea
my money is
hasn't
in China. China
Korea
will
has-
fix this
No,
because they
but
have
he's pressuring
they have
China
a
to
big
fix
stake
it.
in this, and they're the ones to.
But Korea has always done what they're doing. The fact that we say don't do it, whatever, dropping them, threatening them is not the way to go.
No.
And if
He's too
you're
insecure.
if you're going to do this, you need to have a group of people who actually get what needs to be done.
And understand the
doing
region.
this
China.
and giving a
think China-
finger. But he's also in bed with China.
But he's
You
also
I know, but they have a stake
But
in this.
they have an economic stake.
Well,
Yes.
they have 90% of North Korea's trade comes from China.
Right.
So when you think about it, China does have wields the big stick there. But Trump obviously
you saw
miscalculated
what
that
China
because
said.
he ran his campaign talking badly about China.
That's
saying
why
that they were the-
But there's a
No, but
difference
he'll change
between.
that tomorrow.
But
That's-
we've been saying there's a difference between campaigning and then when he got in there. The hope for me was that when he got in there, he was going to listen to his generals. He was going to have access to national security information he didn't have before that may have led him to make better decisions. He may be looking at the policy of the last
It's
few years
very
and saying,
scary.
this hasn't worked. I'm all
It has
for
to work
no,
because
he doesn't have a
Korea.
policy.
Listen, Korea has been doing stuff over where they are. Okay, they haven't come over here.
But
Okay?
because they can't.
But
at some point they will be able to.
Well, so will everyone else. The Russians can come over here. Every country that has a nuclear. Listen, we were never going to be the only ones that had this capability ever. And once we exhibited the ability to do it, everybody wanted it. So the idea was at one point to get everybody to drop their stuff. Now everybody's rearming. They're going to get their stuff because why? We're saying, oh yeah, we're going to come. We are wielding the biggest, everywhere.
But there's a difference between the United States having that stuff. The United States doesn't seek or aim to destroy other countries. When you have the leader of countries saying,
We're the
we
only
seek to
country that
destroy...
ever dropped it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we
on
are.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I'm not worried about
No
the
other
United
country
States.
has ever used a nuclear warhead except us. You realize that.
What I'm saying to you is today, if the United States has access to those weapons, I fully expect the United States to use those weapons to help other people, not to harm other people.
I don't
Unless
know
they're
how a
harming
nuclear
ISIS.
Holocaust
Unless
helps
they're
anybody,
taking-
Jen.
Exactly.
Well, that's what China said. Nobody wins
Nobody
here.
wins.
Nobody
one
wins
wins.
here.
You have to do something, though,
Can I just
because
say that, the people are starving there, but he seems to be eating all the food. That's one thing I notice about this guy. Everybody, they're starving, but this guy's nice and chubby.
that's true. Yes.
Look, when you talk about a plan, Jed, there are economic sanctions, there's covert action, there's diplomatic negotiations, and then ultimately war.
But
It
we've
seems
done all
like
that.
our country is jumping to the military.
We've been doing it. We've been doing all of that for years. President Obama put it through. Susan Rice talked about this strategic patience. We did it. It didn't work. At some
What do you
point,
keep saying it didn't work?
It didn't work because
Why
they're getting
didn't it
closer
work?
and closer to putting a nuclear warhead on the edge of those long-range missiles.
That doesn't mean
Yes,
diplomacy is
we're
a
supposed
failure.
to be preventing them from doing that and wanting to use it for...
No.
We're not?
We'll be
Then what
back.
do we-
We'll be back. We'll be back.